Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to discuss my breastfeeding journey and everything about breastfeeding, because even though we hear a lot about it, and when you get pregnant you hear a lot of lactation consultants talk to you, your friends talk to you, I feel there's a huge component of breastfeeding that people don't talk about. And when I got pregnant and I gave birth, there were so many things I didn't know, and I wish that someone would have told me. And these are not just the technical details, but these are the intangible details about your emotions and your mental health and things how to tackle when you don't produce milk that I wish that someone had told me. So let's backtrack a little bit. Now, I had a scheduled induction, so I kind of knew when I'm going to go in and deliver my baby. Before that, I had the opportunity to get in touch with a lactation consultant who kind of guided me through what pump I want, and we'll get into that a little later. And also nursing and breastfeeding entailed, so she kind of gave me a big breakdown and brief of it. Again, it was very technical, and she kind of went through the entire process, but what she didn't prepare me for was things that could happen which was not the norm, and how I could tackle it and how I could feel okay about it. So when I had Nishka, it was supposed to be an induction, it turned into a C-section, and because of that the body is like not sure whether you had a baby, so you don't end up producing a lot of milk. So milk also comes in 3 phases. You have the colostrum, which is the golden milk, which is the first milk you give the baby. Then you have the transitional milk, and then you have the mature milk. So I did produce colostrum, which I gave Nishka, but it wasn't enough to be a meal for her. And so I felt very guilty, and I feel like there was a lot of pressure on me to produce milk from the nurses and the lactation consultant. I had 1 or 2 lactation consultants that came into the hospital, and it was just like, you have to produce milk, you have to produce milk, you need to press it in this way, you need to feed her this way. And you just come out from a C-section, and there's just so much your body has gone through, and there's so much stress, physical stress, mental anxiety and everything, and in all of that it's like, produce milk, produce milk. So I think those are the components that I was very anxious about, and I wish that at that point somebody came and told me that, hey Nupur, it's okay if you don't produce milk. It's okay to give formula to your infant. It's fine. I know breast milk is important, but it's okay to give formula as well. And a lot of these little tidbits and snippets and knowledge I didn't know, and it really stressed me out. And then I requested for a change of lactation consultant, and I got another one. And actually it was only when Nishka's pediatrician came in who told me, Nupur, don't stress, it's perfectly fine, we have great formulas today, give her how much milk you can produce, and whatever you can't, just top it up with formula, it's totally fine, your child will be okay. And it's then I was like, oh my god, thank god, like it took a little bit of stress from me. And even Kaushik was like, don't stress. He was a formula baby because he used to have a lot of milk, and breast milk wasn't enough. I was a formula baby, and I think we kind of turned out okay, but nobody told me that don't stress so much about it. Now I feel like every mom wants to give as much breast milk as possible to her child, but sometimes it's just not possible. And if it's not possible, doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And as much as I understand breast milk is important, it's also important to normalize formula or other forms of feeding, because not every mom is physically able to produce milk. And I think we need to talk more about that, whether you choose to breastfeed your baby or you decide to give them formula or you decide to do a combo. I think it depends on the parents, the child, and as long as your pediatrician is okay with it, I think as a society we need to stop making mothers feel guilty. So I think that's something I wish more people kind of spoke about, which I learned through the process. But the other component of the whole breastfeeding journey was the whole technical aspect, which pump to get, how many times to feed your baby. A lot happens in that area. You feed your baby, it becomes sore, you can have mastitis, you can have sore nipples. There's a lot that can go on, and I feel like the education of how to tackle or troubleshoot these things is not something that people talk a lot about. So the first thing first, I want to break down and tell you about pumps, right? So when you go to deliver, every hospital will have a pump, so don't be nervous if you forget to get your pump along to the hospital. The hospital pumps are pretty good. I think they often provide you the Medela pump, which is great because it has a lot of force. It's hard on your nipples, but then it's pretty good in terms of expressing milk. I chose to get Spectra through my insurance. Again, speak to your insurance and find out what pump you're eligible for and choose accordingly. Later on in the process, I did end up getting a portable pump, which is the LV pump and the Mom Cozy pump. I had both. So my insurance provided me portable pump as well, which I wish I had gotten through my insurance, because the portable pumps are more expensive. If your insurance gives you, get a good pump that can help you work through your supply. And if you can afford, get another portable pump, which I started using only, I think, 4 to 5 months in my journey. I wish I'd started earlier, but I started only around 4 or 5 months, which was very helpful because then we started traveling a bit, and I had my portable pump on even through the airport, during TSA, on the flight. So that was very, very helpful. But Spectra is what really helped my supply to stabilize and help me produce more milk. So definitely, I think there are pros and cons of different pumps, and I can discuss that in another video. Here, I just want to touch an overview of different things that you might need in your breastfeeding journey. So that is the pump. Again, the most important part is check with your insurance on what you're eligible and what you're not, because pumps can get expensive. Then the second things are the flanges. These are the parts of the pump that get attached and that kind of take the milk out. Now the flange size is very important, and again, nobody told me that. It's only when my doula who came in and she's like, Nupur, I think you need a smaller flange, because the flanges that came with the breast pump was too big and it was not helping me produce enough milk. So that's when I googled and went on Amazon and I bought the right flange size. There are a lot of Facebook groups that you can resort to or speak to a lactation consultant to figure out the right flange size, but do it at the start because that will save you a lot of pain and it will help you with your supply even more. So that's the second thing. The third thing is it's important to moisturize your nipples, your breasts, because it is a lot of physical activity. So get a good nipple butter, have a hot shower, massage it whenever you can to relieve them of any pain or potential mastitis or inflammation, because that can easily happen. Even clogged ducts can happen. So make sure you get your hot shower in. That's just taking care of it. Anything that you use has to be taken care of, and a body part is no different. The next thing is you. I think in the whole process of breastfeeding, we kind of forget ourselves. At least I did. Like, I was so focused on breastfeeding Nishka that I kind of forgot to take care of myself, which is drinking a lot of water, having protein, having healthy fats. If you are happy, if you are less stressed, and if you are healthy, your baby will be happy and you'll be able to probably produce more milk, because stress impacts production of milk a lot. What you eat impacts the production of milk a lot. So I think that's an important aspect to keep in mind. Also, there are a lot of food items that can help you with your supply. Lactation cookies, drinking lots of water. Coconut water is a game changer. I think lactation cookies and coconut water is something I had. My mom, also made me semolina pudding with lots of dry fruits and stuff, which I had, and that also helped me kind of produce more milk. Because like I said at the start, I wasn't producing enough. It's only, I think, a couple of weeks into giving birth is when my supply started coming in and I could, provide Nishka enough milk. Now, the next thing is just the whole nursing versus pumping. Now, Nishka wasn't the best latcher. She did not latch well, and the nursing process was just very, very stressful for me. Some of the lactation consultants, I didn't have a good experience, didn't make it the best experience for me. But get a nursing pillow, because that really helps, when you're trying to nurse. I only nursed till week 6. After week 6, I resorted to full-time pumping because one, I was getting very anxious of how much milk am I producing, how much Nishka is feeding. So pumping gave me a bit more clarity on, how much milk I was able to give Nishka. And secondly, because I was pumping and storing in the bottles, I could get a little bit of sleep in the night when the doula or my husband or my parents kind of took over Nishka and, gave me a little bit of scope to rest. So I think that's very important, is to kind of decide what works best for you. The part that, I feel a lot of times is that, there are a lot of this is what you need to do, this is what is right. And I feel like all these societal norms need to be kind of broken down. Whether you nurse or whether you pump or whether you formula feed or you combo feed, A mom knows the best for her child and she needs to make the right decision, and nobody ever should make you feel guilty for that. So a lot of people told me nursing is better, but I made the decision to pump because that just worked for me and my baby. And Nishka is now 15 months old, and she, touch wood, you know, she loves food and everything kind of worked out fine. So I think we need to take the pressure off moms in general on what route they're going to pick. And a lactation consultant should work with you and understand your mental health, physical health, and not just tell you what is right. And I was lucky to find some good lactation consultants who kind of understood this. Nishka's pediatrician understood it. My family was very supportive. So I think a lot of these things kind of came together later than it should have come together before I gave birth, and I should have been told about it. But again, should have, would have. So hopefully this video, for those mamas who are struggling, I hope this makes you feel that it's not you, it's completely okay. Do what you think is best for your child and for yourself and for your mental health. So much emotions happen after you give birth. Your body goes through so much. There's a roller coaster of hormones and everything, and I really feel moms need to take care of themselves much more than society tells them to. Since I was pumping, it was actually a lot of work because I had to wash the pump parts and I had to store them, all the bottles. There was a lot of work involved. So again, nursing versus pumping versus formula, everything has its pros and cons. So it's important for you to weigh and see what's right for you. I ended up buying multiple parts so that I didn't have to wash them that often. I would just put my breast pump parts in the dishwasher at night and put the special pods I bought to clean it. And that way I didn't have to worry because I always had an extra part in handy. So that was very, very helpful. I'd highly recommend getting extra parts if you can. And I also had these storage bottles that I would keep for Nishka. I didn't have that much excessive supply that I could store for like months, but I had a little bit of excessive supply that I could store for days and maybe sometimes weeks, which was more than enough for Nishka. So I actually pumped till 7 to 8 months postpartum, and it's in around 7 to 8 months is when I stopped pumping and I transitioned to giving her formula full time. I think I initially had planned to stop pumping around 5 to 6 months. For your supply to even reduce, it takes so much time. So by the time my supply stopped and I stopped producing, it was around 8 months. So, it's important for you to plan accordingly, especially if you're a working mom and you have to go back to work. Breastfeeding is an entire career in itself, honestly, and I feel like we don't talk enough about it. So, it's important for you to plan when you want to start, when you want to kind of stop. And I know a lot of things are not in our hands, but it's helpful to have a mental plan, especially if you're someone who has to travel or has to go to work. These things can be hard to coordinate. So this was personally my breastfeeding journey, and I know I can make many videos around it, and I'll probably make shorter ones to kind of more educational type in others. But the whole idea of this video is to tell you that everybody's journey, breastfeeding journey, is different. There's no right or wrong. When you breastfeed, when you pump, when you give formula, as long as your doctor is not concerned, don't let anybody make you feel any way. I was very lucky to have a very supportive husband, family, doula, but there were a lot of things that I learned in the process: what to buy, how to handle, how to not feel guilty about not producing enough. There were so many components that I wish I knew earlier, and I hope through this video it gave you some tidbits and insight into it. I hope it was useful, and if you have any questions, DM me below. I'll link all the products I used in my breastfeeding journey in the description below, just for your convenience, and do follow me on Instagram because I share a lot there. I hope this video was useful, and I'll see you next time. Till then, lots of love.